Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing? How are you doing? How was your week? How was your weekend? Hope you had a great time. This is Magdalene Adenike presenting Barefoot Conversation with me, Magdalene. So how has it been? It's another new week. And not only that, it's a new month. We're in the month of April. Can you imagine? Where has the time gone? It's gone so quick. Wow, where has the time gone? It just seems like before you blink, the year's just literally going to come to an end. So how are things going on for you? Hope you're achieving those goals you set for yourselves. That's the main thing. If you're achieving those set goals you set for yourself, that's the main thing. You keep doing what you're doing. I had a great week actually, and a great weekend. My event, Shine Through Your Art, public speaking training event, took place last weekend on Saturday. It was phenomenal. For me, it was a great success because it was an intimate event, but the content in which the ladies left with was phenomenal because they came late, but they went back with clarity on how to begin to apply several things to help them in the achievement of whatever it is that they need to do. And that for me was a great success. And the testimonial that came from it was phenomenal. And there was a case of when is the next event? When is the next event? So I was like, okay, hold on, ladies, I'll let you know, just hold on. So it was was really good. It was really good. So I'm happy for that. So yes, I'm back here again, another Tuesday morning, 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So please guys do tune in with me for just 30 minutes, that we have a conversation. So who is Magdalene? I am Magdalene Adenike. I have several hats, but the two main things I'm going to be talking to you about is Magdalene Adenike. I work with women who are struggling to find their purpose in life. I coach them in order for them to identify, connect, or reconnect with their purpose in order for them to live a fulfilled life. I am also the CEO and founder of Music Relief Foundation, which came about from my own personal experience as a teenage mom 18 years ago, and also being a musician as well. So what better way to be able to help and give back by combining my experience and expertise to be able to found Music Relief Foundation, who will work with young people to unleash their creative spirits using music as therapy workshops. So today I'm going to be talking to you and telling you about my 5-step rule to living a transformed life, my 5-step rule to living a transformed life. So you guys relax. Put your feet up, have a cup of tea, have a cup of coffee. I'm going to be having a cup of coffee, so just bear with me a second. I do love my coffee. Okay, and let's start. So what does that mean? 5-step rule to living a transformed life. When I talk about transform, I'm a transformation expert. So when I talk about transformation, transform people, what does that mean? What does that mean? Transformation, it's basically, for me, if I want to put it down in layman's terms, it's just living a changed life for you, for when your life is changed, when things around you is changed, and not just change, but change for the better, or sometimes it's changed for the worse. So you find people who used to be good, some people like, oh, they've just done a 360-degree turnaround and they've transformed and they've turned into a bad way, but normally it's a good way. They turn around and turn to a good way. And you find people who are transformed begin to do things. It's like that whole experience of that light bulb, like Albert Einstein said, when that light bulb switches on and it's like, oh my God, eureka. It's like, yes, that idea that you've been waiting for has come alive, and you can finally see, like, wow, okay, this is it. That's, for me, is transformation. When you come to your own, when you begin to live in your own terms, in your own way, in your own light, not under the shadow of anybody else. When you understand that Rome was not built in a day, and you need to take baby steps in order for you to achieve those set out goals that you've put down. And so most of the time I find many people, both adults and young people, live in the shadow of somebody else, and you're wondering, you have so many great things inside of you. There's so many potentials. God has given your own plan, his own plan and purpose for your life. Why can't you see that? Why can't you understand that? Instead of living under the shadow of somebody else and wanting to be somebody else, when you don't have to. Because you have greatness inside of you. I was thinking about this. I was like, should I say this or should I? I'm going to go for it. I don't care. I'm just really going to go for it because this is me. This is Magdalene. This is Magdalene coming to her own and being herself. So I'm Nigerian. I come from Nigeria. And in my country, Nigeria, there's so many states, so many different places. But the three main states that is recognized and languages that is recognized in my country, the three main ones are the Yorubas who come from the western side, the Igbos who come from the eastern side, and the Hausas who come from the northern side. So I don't fall into any of these three. Guy who comes from the western side. So I come from the southern side now. So I'm Delta, I'm Orobo. And so because we don't fall into the majority now, we're classed as a minority. But I don't class myself as a minority because I'm a majority. Anyways, I'm stating that because of the fact that I have decided to identify with my own. Yes, I'm married to somebody from this place. Yes, I carry this person's name. But who am I as a true person, as my identity? What blood flows through my veins? What blood flows through my veins? Is the blood of my parents who come from the southern side, my ancestors who came from the southern side, who died and their blood was spilled in the southern side. So that's what blood flows through my veins. So in as much as I'm married to somebody and I have that new identity with that person, I still have to identify with where I come from. If this is all part of my 5-step rule, you will understand shortly. And I still have to understand that in order for me to begin to live that transformed life, I have to take away every mask and be myself. And so there's a statement that I'm going to make. So for people who may or may not understand, I will translate it. And it says, waka de go. Waka de go. So some people don't understand, like, what's she talking about? Waka de go basically is, for me, in my term, is that do your thing. Someone else may translate it as keep walking and just keep going. But the thing is, do your thing. Stay in your own lane. Stay in your own lane. That's how I want to translate it in line with what I'm going to talk about today. Stay in your own lane. Be the master of your own craft and come to your own level of greatness. Waka de go. Stay in your own lane. Do your thing. Be the master of your own craft and come to your own greatness. Brings me nicely to what I'm going to be talking about today. Are you really free in your mind? Reality versus image. How do we perceive ourselves? Are you really free in your mind? Are you really free in your mind? Reality versus image. How do we perceive ourselves? Your mind, your mindset goes a long way in how you act, what you do, and your behavior. It goes a long way. Are you really free in your mind? Or do you pretend and say to people, yes, I'm free, when actually you're locked up, you're in bondage? Is the reality you're living, is it on par with the image that you're showing to the world? The image that you're conveying to the world, is it in the same level? How do you perceive yourself, or how do we perceive ourselves? So let me personalize it. How do we perceive ourselves? How does Magdalene, how do you perceive yourself? So going back to what I said in my introduction, or part of my introduction, when I talked about where I'm from, I perceive myself as an Orobo girl. That's who I am. I'm an Orobo girl who happens to be married to a Yoruba guy. But I am an Orobo girl, full-blooded Nigerian living in the UK. And that's how I perceive myself. I've gone through everything I've gone through. My life has changed from one level to the other, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but there's been some transformation, but I've learned from it. And now I'm able to sit here and stand, as the case may be, wherever I'm called to. And not only have I been transformed, I'm now in a position to transform other people's life by inspiring them and activating that change within them in order for them to identify, connect with what their passion is. So what is my 5-step rule for living a transformed life, or my 5-step rule to live in a transformed life? The first thing, go back to your foundation. Go back to your foundation. So get a pen and paper, write down what I'm saying. Go back to your foundation. What is your foundation? Where are you from? Where are you from? What is it? What are those things that you used to do? Remember when we talk about foundation, you're looking at when you're looking at it from a structure of a house. It's the ground level. It's the ground level. It's the floor. You have to start from the ground. You have to start from the ground and ensure that the ground is well solid before you begin to try to put bricks for the walls or anything else. Because if the ground is not solid, everything else does not matter. So that's your foundation. Go back to your foundation. So I'm on a journey to ensure that I identify with my foundation, where I'm from, the struggles of my people and how we've been able to go through everything we've gone through to stand. The struggles of my mother as a fellow woman as well, may her soul rest in peace. How she went through being a woman and having to live in an era that it was primarily male dominated, but being able to still stand. Because I remember the story she used to say, when she would have arguments with her bosses and stuff like that, but she always had her mouth. She was always one of those people that always had a mouth to give back, to talk back. All the time, even to her in-laws, talk back. I'm not saying rightly, I'm not saying it's the right thing, but that's how she was. She was always talking back. But I remember all of those things that she said. And I look at the strength, and we used to call her the Margaret Thatcher of our family because she was a firm woman. Was a stern and firm woman who said, you know what, I won't let you get away with rubbish with me. And so I look back to all of those things and I say to myself, am I going to allow people to step on me, or am I going to have a voice? Do I need to remember? Do I not need to remember my foundation, where I'm from, and understand that there is joy in identifying with your foundation, because it helps you to push on. So for me to come and speak boldly and confidently to you, even through barefoot conversations, or when I'm on stage, or when I'm running a class of any sort, whether through Magdalene Adenike's classes or Music Relief Foundation classes, I speak with boldness and confidence because I remember where I'm from. I remember my foundation. I am doing as I said, I dey waka, dey go. Second thing, my second rule to live in a transformed life: reconnect with your 5-year-old self and your passion. Reconnect with your 5-year-old self and your passion, the things you used to love doing. Reconnect. Let me just make sure the iPad stays on. Okay. Reconnect with your 5-year-old self and the things you used to love doing. From when we were born up until 4, 5, many of those things are still in the days we don't remember. But once we begin to reach the age of 5 and onwards, when we look back at every single thing, that sense of memory, and we're able to begin to recollect some certain things from that age of 5, because those are very fundamental years. And so the brain begins to form and so many things begins to take place. So reconnect with your 5-year-old self. What were those things you used to do so carefree that you just love doing and you could spend hours doing? You could get lost, and sometimes your parents will be looking for you thinking, where is she? Where is he? When your imagination used to run wild and you have your little Barbie doll and you had your Barbie house and you were there having your party with Ken, the male version of Barbie, and you're doing your thing and you're having your tea party. And you're telling mommy and daddy to sit down and have your teddy bear party and all this thing that used to be so real to you. What happened? Reconnect with your 5-year-old self, because that's where your passion is. Reconnect. Because the thing is, once we grow up, the cares and concerns of the world takes over. It's just like a plant. When you plant a seed and it's not well watered and it's not well nurtured, you don't look after it well. Do you know what happens? What happens after that is the fact that when the weeds grow, and if we don't take time to take away all those weeds from that seed, that precious seed that we have planted, 2 things will happen. The seed will grow up with the weeds, and eventually something will happen. If we don't take care, the weeds will overshadow that seed. So that beautiful talent, that beautiful ability, that beautiful gift that was supposed to have grown and flourished and then becomes a blessing to the world, to yourself and to the world, dies down because the weeds, the cares of this world have taken over. The weeds now, in when we look at, when we personalize it to ourselves, is it's the bills, the responsibilities. It's being an adult and stop playing games, stop being a child. It's time to be real. Those things are very real. I'm not saying they're not real. They're very real. The bills are there. They're very real. You need to pay your mortgage. You need to pay your bills. It's very real. Especially when you're old people, the creditors, they want their money. So it's very real. But when you're dealing with all of that and also living a pretentious life, when you're not living the life that you're supposed to be living, you have not identified, you have not connected or reconnected with your purpose in life. That is the most frustrated human being. The third thing in my 5-step rule to live in a transformed life: rewrite the limiting thoughts in your mind. Rewrite the limiting thoughts in your mind. We've been told, research has said it, and many various notable speakers have said it takes 21 days to develop a habit. So take that 21 days and rewrite so that you can undo the negative habits, those limiting thoughts, those limiting mindsets that you have. Rewrite them. 21 days. If you have to take 21 days every single day, if it's just going to take you 1 minute to do so, every single day, every limiting thoughts that you have in your mind, every single day for 5 minutes or so, rewrite them. So instead of saying, what did I write down? I say, turn your I can't into I can. I remember listening to a wonderful speaker yesterday. Her name just literally flown from my mind right now. And she said something that blew my mind. It's so obvious, but sometimes when you don't think about it, it then becomes like, wow. But it was such an obvious thing. She said, when a thought comes into your mind, excepting you act on that thought immediately, when you begin to brood on it, your brain sends different waves to you, and then you begin to say, oh no, I can't do it. As human beings, she said, we're not created to step out of our, we're not created to be adventurous. We're created to just kind of stay in our comfort zone, because that's where we're safe. The brain tells us you're safe. Don't do this, don't do that. What are you trying to do? You're gonna hurt. Don't you know you could fail? Don't you know you could just fall flat on your face? Don't do this. And so that thought that came into our mind, that popped into our mind, that idea, that statement we were gonna say, immediately we downplay that statement. We downplay that statement immediately, and then we just water it down, and then that thing just dies away. I remember yesterday, as a result of listening to this woman, and I was like, wow, this woman is like, you're just in my head. And it's not just her. I've been listening to various talks from various individuals, and it's just tying in, and it just ties into what I'm saying today. I put out a statement on Facebook yesterday. I said something along, I can't remember word for word. I said something about be audacious. Be audacious and just be on your own lane and stop trying to seek approval from man. And that's what I said earlier on. It's enough for us. It's enough for us, and it's time for us. Sorry, I'm mixing my words now. It's time for us to stop seeking the approval of man, that's male or female, before we take a step. The thought comes into your head, whether you have all the skill set or not, whether you have all the tools available to you right there and then or not, just do it. Just go ahead and do it. Don't wait, because the thing is, once you wait, you would never carry it out, or you probably procrastinate and say, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes. Just do it. So rewrite the limiting thoughts in your mind. Turn I can't into I can. Number 4. Set goals, both short-term and long-term. Break them down to practical and simple steps that you can apply. So what did I say? Set goals. Set goals, both short-term and long-term. You need to set goals. You need to, because you can't just live life and just wake up and go, wake up and go. What's the aim? Where are you going? Where are you heading? You can't enter your car or go enter any form of public transport and say you're going somewhere, but you don't know where you're going to. There has to be a direction. There has to be an end place you're trying to get. There has to be a destination you're trying to get to. What is that destination? What is that destination you're trying to get to? So set goals, both the short term the short-term goals and the long-term goals, and break them down. So your short-term goals and your long-term goals, break them down to practical steps that you can apply. So I know that I have barefoot conversations every Tuesday mornings from 11 a.m. to 11:30. So my short-term goal is to ensure that I have my topics ready. So what I have done in regards to my short-term goals, so you may class it as a short-term goal, you may class it as a long-term goal. This is now my 6 weeks. So I've been on air now for 6 weeks. So this is now my 6 weeks. Next week is going to be my 7th week. And I wrote down for 7 weeks the topics. I wrote down for 7 weeks my topics so that each week I know what I'm going to be talking about. So I'm prepared for each week. Last week I said to us, towards the end of last week's show, I said to us I was going to be talking about how are we different from our parents. But when I went back into it and I thought about it, I said, no, that's not actually, that I'm going to shelve that for another time. But the thing is, I'm able to do that because of the fact I already have it written down. So I'm not having to scratch my head thinking, oh, what am I going to say? I already have it written down. So you may class that as a short-term goal. You may class it as a long-term goal. For me, it's a short-term goal because those are just the topics. So what's my long-term goal? Where am I heading with Barefoot Conversations? Those are my long-term goals, and those are goals that are unique to me that I'm not going to be telling you. So write them down, break them down into practical steps that you can apply so that it doesn't look so hard. So as I've written those topics down, I know how to tailor my research in accordance to the topics that I'm going to be talking about so that it's not a difficult task. It now makes it so easy. So I already know that I have Barefoot Conversation. It comes up every Tuesday morning. So it's not something that's coming. It's not a new thing to me. I'm prepared for that. So my topics are now laid out. So like I said, I've written them. I've gotten topics for the next 7 weeks. So my 7th week is next week. So I need to prepare myself for another 7 weeks or beyond, depending on how the flow goes. So I'm not going to limit it to just 7 weeks. If I'm on a flow, I'm just going to keep going. And so those are my short-term goals. And so when I do my research, each research is tailored in accordance to those goals, to those topics, sorry. The 5th thing, celebrate your little wins. Celebrate your little wins. Sometimes we look down on ourselves. We look down on things and think, oh, because it's not massive, it's not this. Let me give an example of my event that took place on Saturday. I put out the event as you would do. You announce it, you promote it, and do everything. People say to you, oh, at the last minute, some beforehand, sorry, I can't make it. Some of the last minute say something has come up. What do you do as an event host? Do you cancel the event because such and such is not coming? And then you look at your numbers and you're like, oh, these numbers are not, it's not the numbers I want, so I'm going to have to cancel it. Sometimes you may have to, depending on the size of the hall you need to fill. And if you don't have the money, then you may have to cancel it. Other times is that you just say to yourself, am I really going to cancel it? No. And that's what I did. I said, you know what? Irrespective of who's going to turn up. So I had a figure in mind when I was heading to the venue on Saturday. I had a figure in mind who was going to turn up because these are the people that I actually purchased their tickets. But then I had other people saying that, oh, I may be running late. And somebody said at the last minute, I'll turn up. So I wasn't sure. So when I got there, so it was those people that had paid for the Eventbrite late that I was expecting that turned up. So someone else turned up later on. I was like, oh, fantastic. So it was a very intimate event. So for me, how I classed that as a success and how I celebrated that was the fact that these ladies who came in on shore with so many question marks left with more answers than questions. So that for me, and that for me is worthy to be celebrated. That for me is worthy to be celebrated. So celebrate your little wins. When you learn to celebrate your little wins, you are able to celebrate your big wins. Don't look down on something because you feel like, oh, because it's not this, then it's not, there's no point in celebrating it. Celebrate it regardless. So let me just quickly summarize because I'm conscious of my time. The 5-step rule, my 5-step rule to live in a transformed life. First thing I said, go back to your foundation. Identify where you came from. Understand what it is that your family, your ancestors did for you. Connect with that so that will help you to build upon where it is, on the solid rock, on the mountain that you need to build on, and not on a faulty and shaky foundation. 2, reconnect with your 5-year-old self. What were those things you used to love doing and you could spend hours doing, that your parents would be looking everywhere for you and they can't find you because you're lost in your own world? Go back to that time. Go back to that, because you're going to find that that's where your calling lies. 3, rewrite the limiting thoughts in your mind. Turn your I can'ts into I can. I remember when we had the youth summit, Music Relief Foundation, I said to the young people, I can, I will, I must. I can, I will, I must. So we know it takes 21 days to develop a habit. So let's rewrite our mindset, rewrite the thoughts that we have in our mindset, and turn them around from the I can't into I can, and develop new habits, better habits within the next 21 days. Set goals, both short-term and long-term. Break them down to practical and simple steps that you can apply. And the 5th thing I said, celebrate your little wins. And let me just add this as well. It's human nature to always play safe. Anything that will cause you to go out of your comfort zone is always uncomfortable and quite nerve-wracking. It's human nature to always play safe. Anything that will cause you to go out of your comfort zone is always uncomfortable and quite nerve-wracking. Success. This is my definition of success. Your ability to show up. Your ability to show up. Replay this video. Replay it. Take note and really think about it. And start the change that you desire. Start it now in order for you to live a transformed life. I'm Magdalene Adenike. I am the CEO of Magdalene Adenike, where I work with women who are struggling to find their purpose in life. I coach them in order for them to identify, to connect or reconnect with their purpose in order for them to live a fulfilled life. I am also the CEO of Music Relief Foundation, where we work with young people to unleash their creative spirits. Until next time, I want you to have a great day. But before I go, I just want to quickly tell you the topic of next week. Next week's topic, which is my 7th week on Barefoot Conversation, is when is it time to rest? When is it time to rest? So on that note, I want to say thank you again for tuning in. Have a great day. Have a great rest of the week. And please do tune back in here next week, Tuesday. Bye for now.